just telling Laura. Hello, Laura, darling.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, but I can now. I had my...
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I've got two of my favourite people on, Mala and Laura. I've been busy this week.
Been busy, Mala. I bet Mala's been even busier than me. Have you, Mala?
Well, you could say I don't know how busy you've been. But you know, the biggest problem this year, people have gone on to Microsoft Teams.
Oh, I hate Teams.
But I have spent hours at the computer with the engineer because they come the day before to you know, see that it works, and half the time it doesn't. Oh, I've been so stressed.
I use Teams for our national health meetings, and I'm in trepidation every time I have to go into a meeting. I'm thinking to myself, am I going to get into the meeting? I want to get. But the National Health only use meetings, so I have to, and then every single one, and I have so many of them.
And the other thing that's so annoying about it is you can only get about 9 people on the screen. And I like, the thing that's lovely about Zoom is seeing the people.
Yeah, I noticed that, you know, first time, and each time I said, I thought they'd made a mistake. They just didn't put the screen on for me. But it's horrible speaking at a lens.
Rabbi, we can dispense with the picture. Hello, Richard.
Hello, Ingrid. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Well.
Thank you very much.
Did anybody see the JW3 event today?
That was your no, that was your nephew, wasn't it?
I know, but I missed him. I had to share it. I had another Zoom to do, and I went off after 40 minutes. He still wasn't on, or 35 minutes. He still wasn't on, and I had to do the other Zoom where I was speaking. So
the program.
I've asked them already for the link. I also couldn't go, but they've recorded it, Mala. So
have they?
Yes, I've asked them for the link already. So yes, we can get.
Oh, the JW3.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Morris told me they were recording it, but I haven't had time to speak to anybody. And I've got a family too. They all say how wonderful he was, and I can't see it. Well, not till later.
I'm sure that, is that your brother's son?
Oh, there.
Where have we gone? Rabbi, what have you done to us? Oh. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Ingrid. How are you?
Fine. You feeling better?
Well, not so good today, but still.
How's Judy? All right.
Yeah, Judy's okay today.
Oh, good. Hello, Lena. Hello, John.
Hello.
Hello.
Afternoon, all.
Afternoon. Afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, Stephen. How's
Hello, Barbara. Hello. How are you?
How are you, Rick?
No, it's them. It's them doing it.
Rabbi, are you there? Rabbi?
You're on mute.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can we take the picture away?
Sorry?
You can't hear the music.
Rabbi's doing.
Yes, can you hear me?
What's he trying to do? That's enough. That's better.
What's going on?
Is Mala gone?
I'm here.
Yeah,
Mala?
In the corner.
Which of your nephews was doing the event today at JW3?
Sam.
Because I just this moment got a text from Morris just to say Shabbat Shalom and that he knows we'd have had a busy week.
48.
So there's health gods everywhere.
Yeah.
Do they, so, yeah, I asked him,
Too
he
many
said they were
people in
recording it. I asked him before. Otherwise, I would have not gone to the other Zoom
Yes.
where I was
Yes.
sleeping.
No, I know they've recorded it. Don't worry.
Hello, Rachel.
This is going on to
Rachel, it's the name of the rabbi, Zerbib. Okay.
So hi guys, everyone. Good Shabbos. We're gonna
We're not
just
quite
wait
ready,
2 minutes.
Rabbi. I want to wait for a few more
Yes,
people.
that's exactly what I'm saying. We're gonna wait 1 or 2 minutes, and then I'll pass it over to Ingrid. As you know, we're marking. We're gonna light a special candle and a show candle for the Holocaust survivors and for all those that perished and were murdered and slaughtered in the time of the Second World War from the Nazis, the Holocaust, as we know. And we are sharing our thoughts and our prayers today on this virtual Zoom. So hopefully you can all join. If you want, you can also light a candle with us while we do that at the end of the first session of remembrance that we will hear. We have some guests over here that was going to speak. Ingrid is going to introduce them, and then we're going to go over to do Kabbalat Shabbat. We'll say a few words, and hopefully we will enter the Shabbat with remembrance and also happiness and also future. To remember the past, but also to build the future. And that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to pass it over to Ingrid, and you'll tell me whenever you feel that it's the right moment to
Yes,
start.
I think we'll wait a couple more minutes, Rabbi, because
Let me put
just give people a chance, because it takes time sometimes when a few people are trying to get on.
Sure.
And if you can make sure that Mala is speaking, Laura is speaking first and then Mala. So we need to get
who's speaking first?
Laura.
Laura, yes. Laura.
Okay. We'll just wait another minute and then we'll come
Let
on.
me put some background music for 1 minute.
Yeah. Don't make it too loud because it hurts their ears.
To be honest, I don't know how I can control your sound, but when I will learn that, I'll think I'm going to get a degree from Zoom. All the possibilities, podcasts, I already know how to do like to share a spotlight. And I like to do that because then you can get a few people inside. I'm just like a screen. That's a trick I like, but I'll pass it over.
People, please.
Rabbi, I want to say something. Rabbi,
Yusuf, we can hear you.
yes,
1 second.
yes. I just want to say this is the last Shabbat I will be with you before I go to Hindon. And I want to thank you all for 3.5 years of hosting me, for loving me, for caring
1
for
second.
me.
Let me just
And,
put you on 1 second. 1 second, Yusuf. Many of us that are joining do not know the background, but I'm going to put a special time to make it that other people can know a little bit more about your background and what's the step you're taking now. So just a short introduction. And Ingrid, whenever it's time, give me the
Okay, well, we're going to do an introduction now.
we're going to talk about it after we're straight up. Yes, Ingrid.
This is from the show, Mala.
Right. Can I ask you all to put yourselves on mute, please? Because so far we have about 90 people joining us. We have 69 showings, but then a lot of people are in couples. Welcome from Israel, Shaman. I'd like to welcome you all this afternoon on this very special week. And we have set up a program for a Kabbalat Shabbat Holocaust Memorial Day tribute. As you all know, I work with the Holocaust Survivors Center, and I've met many wonderful people through my travels. And this evening, oh, not this evening, I keep on saying this evening, this afternoon, we are really honored because we have two of the most wonderful people joining us who represent the people of the Holocaust.
I can't make that any bigger.
Can you put it on mute, please?
What I'll do is when I put everyone on mute, you will be on mute too, but you just take off yourself. So, yeah,
right, I'm back. So we have with us today the chairman of Holocaust Memorial Day. Actually, her correct title is chairman of the trust. But Laura is known to us because she was speaking to us a few weeks ago before Mitzvah Day. She joined us as wearing her hat as the chair of Mitzvah Day. She was also the founder of Mitzvah Day. So I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself, and she's going to speak about Holocaust Memorial Day and why we have it. Please sit back, and I hand over to you, Laura. Laura, a very, very special welcome.
Thank you, Ingrid. It's so special to be here. Ingrid, I have so much respect, and she said to me, would I speak? I said yes. So I think it was as quick as that. So thank you so much for inviting me. Very special to be here, and very special to share the coming in of Shabbat with you actually on this week of Holocaust Memorial Day, because it's a big week and it's a week of reflection and thought. So thank you so much for having me here to share it with you. As Ingrid said, I chair the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust. The trust was set up by government, actually. It was set up by Tony Blair. And in the year 2000, there was an international decision that the 27th of January, which is the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, 1945, should be the day that we internationally commemorate the Holocaust. And so the Holocaust Memorial Day Trust was set up by government. And I think that's nice to know and nice to mention, because, you know, all sorts of rumors go round about how children are not learning about the Holocaust anymore and it's being taken out of the curriculum. And it's not true. The government, every government has been committed to the work that we do. And I think that's really important to say, because as a Jewish community, apart from anything else, it makes us feel secure knowing that this is taken very seriously from the very top. So our remit is to commemorate and memorialize and learn from the Holocaust, also from the other victims of Nazi persecution, and also from genocides that have taken place since. And the ones that have been designated genocides are Cambodia, Rwanda, Darfur, and Bosnia. In fact, in Darfur, probably genocide is still going on to this day. And in addition to that, to think about the atrocities that are going on today as well. And I'll talk about that in a little moment as well, and to think about why that's so important. So last year, which of course was the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, there were 17,000 events around the UK commemorating, learning about, getting people together to think about these issues, to think about the Holocaust and to think about subsequent atrocities and subsequent genocides. And every year it grows, and we particularly focus on schools, on civil society places, museums, town halls, places where people are really engaged in thinking about the issues of today. Museums, places where people are learning and thinking, and as well, we have events in places like prisons and youth offender centres, and increasingly in mosques and other places of worship and churches, because the Holocaust doesn't just affect us. I mean, obviously the Holocaust affected the Jews, but it wasn't brought about by us. It wasn't brought about by Jews. It was brought about not by Jews. You know, we didn't do anything that caused the Holocaust. And nor do Jews play a particular part I hope no part, in fact, in subsequent genocides. This is something that everybody needs to learn about and everybody needs to be involved in. And it's also very interesting because listening to Mala, Mala was saying that her nephew's been running an event coming up, and there's a new organization set up called Generation to Generation. I don't know if you've come across them yet, Mala. And they are an organization of people who have had parents or grandparents murdered in the Holocaust, or survivors of the Holocaust, actually. And they've taken it upon themselves to think about their role in continuing to tell their parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles stories. Now, my family, I'm very lucky, my family came to this country at the turn of the last century. So my great-grandparents all came to Britain. And that means that whilst obviously there was family who didn't come to Britain and was murdered in the Holocaust, my immediate family was spared. And people say to me, well, what's your Holocaust past, or why are you involved in it? Well, I'm involved in it because I'm a decent citizen, actually. And because I believe that it's not just the responsibility of the people who went through it, or the children of the people who went through it, or the grandchildren of the people who went. It's a responsibility of all of us, Jewish and not Jewish. And that's why we work so hard to bring in people. And I don't know how many of you saw the national commemoration, which was put out last night at 7 o'clock. If you didn't see it, I strongly recommend you have a look at it. Go to the HMD website, maybe on Sunday, hmd.org.uk, and there's a short version as well, 5-minute version of the highlights. And it involves Kari Asim, who's arguably the chief imam in this country, obviously the chief rabbi, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Lord Singh, who is a very leading Sikh, Hindus, people of all different faiths and backgrounds coming together, because the Holocaust and genocide and hate, that's not our responsibility. That's all of our responsibility. We are as responsible as everybody else. And our job is to make sure that everybody thinks about it and everybody takes it on. At Holocaust Memorial Day, at the Trust, we say that we have 3 things we want people to do. We want people to learn more, we want people to empathize or to feel more, and we want people to do more. And we know that well over 95% of people who attend a Holocaust Memorial Day event, any Holocaust Memorial Day event, well over 95% go on to do something as a result of it, even if what they're doing is talking to their kids about it or talking to their friends about it. People go on and do something. So, I urge everybody to do something. And if the only thing you do out of this one is watch that ceremony, I guarantee it will have an effect on you. But the empathize with people more, that's where Mala comes in. Because listening, having the privilege, I can only say the privilege and the honor of listening to somebody who has been through what Mala has been through, there's nothing like that to get you to feel it. And we need to feel it in order to go on and do something. So we need to hear it, we need to feel it, we need to do something about it. I said I'd come back to current persecution because it's terribly important. And I'm sure Mala will mention this, but why are we doing all this? We're doing it because we want to remember what happened in the past, whether it's the Holocaust, whether it's persecution of Roma Sinti and people who are Black and people who are gay and people who are disabled, people who are different by the Nazis, or whether it was the genocide in Cambodia, Rwanda, Darfur, Bosnia, whatever it was, we need to remember. But we need to do more than that because we need to stop it happening again. And saying never again, I never say never again. I know it will happen again. And it's so depressing it'll happen again. And that's what we're in the business of, is trying to ensure that people understand that genocide didn't end in 1945. It's not only the Jews who are persecuted, though the Jews have a history which continues to this very day of persecution, of course. It continues. And when we look at what's happening, particularly, let's take 3 examples, the Uyghur Muslims in China, we are hearing stories there which sound like Jews, people having their heads shaven, being blindfolded, being packed into trains. For any Jewish person, that sort of rings bells is the very minimal way I can put it. You feel it, don't you? You feel that, because we've heard that so much before. We've seen the pictures in the past, we've seen the pictures of today. Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, so hard to get any information out of what's going on there. It has been taken to court to try and designate it a genocide. It's very difficult to get something called a genocide. Another example is Christians in Nigeria, millions of Christians in Nigeria being persecuted for what they believe, for who they are. They haven't committed any crimes. So we need to remember from the past, we need to learn, we need to honor what happened in the past, and we need to know what these things look like so we can stop them happening again. Just one or two more things. The theme this year was Be the Light in the Darkness. And the funny thing is that we chose the theme long before the pandemic started. We've chosen the theme for next year already. I can't tell you what it is. I get Olivia on my back, but we choose the theme a long way in advance. So we chose Be the Light in the Darkness because over a year ago, the world already looked like a dark place. It already needed light in it. But of course, as the pandemic's taken hold, the theme has become so much more real. And it's not just that we're living in a pandemic, but the pandemic is making hatred worse. So the pandemic's bringing out the best in people, and we see people caring for their neighbors and cooking for one another. And we are seeing an enormous outpouring of love and care. But we're also seeing fear, uncertainty, poverty. Are you going to lose your job? Are you going to lose your life? Are you going to lose? What's going to happen? And in that environment, which I'm sure Mala will talk about, of fear and uncertainty, it makes it terribly easy for people who want to drive division to drive division. And when we look at the happenings on Capitol Hill just 2 weeks ago in Washington, regardless of politics, the fact that that sort of thing can happen in a democratic world is frightening. And probably the pandemic and the fear surrounding that and the rhetoric surrounding that is making that sort of thing more likely to happen. And the pandemic looks like it's here for a long time. So Be the Light in the Darkness. We encouraged people last night at 8 o'clock to light a candle. I've got one of my special candles here to show you. This is my Holocaust Memorial Day candle. This one isn't lit, this is my spare. But we lit candles and we asked people to put them in their windows just for a few minutes, because people were not able to come very often to events. We're not going to have 17,000 events this year. Just to ask people for a few minutes to think about the past, to think about the Holocaust, to think about other people who've been murdered or persecuted for who they are, and to think about what's going on today. And so thousands of people, we don't know how many, but thousands of people lit candles and put them in their windows just to be for a moment the light in the darkness. And we all want, I'm sure many of us here had children, grandchildren who we encouraged to light candles, we encouraged to think about it just for a few moments and really think about what we can do moving forwards to make the world a safer and better place. I think that's all I want to say. I think that that's plenty, because really we want to hear from Mala. So thank you again for inviting me, Ingrid, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody. I look forward to hearing from Mala now.
Thank you very much. What beautiful words. Can't follow that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you, Rabbi, for letting us join you in the synagogue today, because we're all here together. However much people try to separate us over the years, you see we're all still around. So thank you, Laura. I hope you'll stay for the rest of the time. And now I'd like to welcome our guest of honor, Mala Tribich. There's not really I can say a lot about Mala Tribich. She is the most wonderful, inspiring lady who is so softly spoken and always lovely to be with, her warm smile. And I'm going to let her tell you her story. And a very big welcome, Mala. You have become like a friend to me. And over the years that I've been associated with the Holocaust Center, and I'm really proud to know both of you actually. So Mala, I welcome you to Northwood United. Mala, you're on silence. Mala, you've got to take your.
She got it. I think she got it.
It's okay now. Thank you, Ingrid. And I somehow didn't expect to have to tell my story today because first of all, it's too little time and it's a different sort of event. But I've decided to share with you something really special from the Gulag, but I will give you just an outline of my story first, because, you know, and how it relates to this. So I was born in Poland, middle child of 3 with an older brother, Ben, and a younger sister, Lucia. And before the war, we lived a very happy life. I did all the usual things that children of that age do, that children of that age did in those days, very different from today, but a very happy life, lots of family, cousins, friends, school, and so on. And then on the 1st of September, everything changed. War broke out on the 1st of September. And within 2 months, by the 1st of November, we had already been incarcerated into ghetto wards. Now, ours was the first town, Piotrków Trybunalski, to give it the full name. We were the first town to have a ghetto in Poland. And things changed. Now, things really turned upside down. I won't talk about the ghetto because it's a subject of its own, and I want to get to the little bit that I particularly want to relate to you. So the ghetto, well, I just basically tell you, we were deprived of all the most basic rights, and we were short of food, and people were being killed and shot at, and we had to endure some terrible things in the ghetto. But after about 2.5 years, rumors started circulating that the ghetto was going to be dissolved and everybody was going to be deported except people with work permits. Now, the people with work permits were just the middle section of the population, the people of the right age and physique, and they had no room for children, no use for children, no use for old people, so they were the most vulnerable. And we knew that those deportations were going to be not to a labor camp, which is bad enough, but we were going to go to annihilation camps like Sobibor, Treblinka, Majdanek. Nobody came out alive of there. So there was real panic. People tried to save themselves. There were ways and means, but some of them were very expensive. And they were dangerous as well to get out of the ghetto. But some of the ways were that they could escape from the ghetto and live in the open, in the forest, in the sewers, anywhere to avoid deportation. And my parents were introduced, together with my aunt and uncle, the Kleins, were introduced to a man who was willing to hide 2 Jewish children. That was to be a business arrangement. He lived in Częstochowa, which was about an hour and a half away by train. And Częstochowa is right on the German border. So he was actually well, he was Polish, but of German origin. We called them Volksdeutsche. And for that reason, he enjoyed more privileges than the average person. It was all arranged, you know, he came into the ghetto, he was smuggled into the ghetto so he could collect the money and make arrangements. And he said that he'll take me first, he'll come back a week later, take me, then a week after that he'll take my cousin. And so it happened, we're very scared traveling by train because there was actually a reward for handing in Jews. And some of them made it into quite a lucrative business. So if, say, we're sitting on a train and someone looked at us for longer than a few seconds, we immediately thought we're being suspected of a crime of being Jewish. So that was scary in itself because they're also looking at papers and stopping trains and checking people. But it all happened. We arrived one at a time in Częstochowa. We found ourselves on the outskirts in a suburb with a middle-aged couple. The man who came for us was their son-in-law, and he was living around the corner with his wife and child. These people weren't exactly pleased to have us, but they tolerated us and they didn't ill-treat us. But we were very scared and very homesick, very vulnerable. And my cousin, we were supposed to be relatives from Warsaw, and my cousin, who was an only child, my cousin Ija, was so unhappy that she asked to be taken home. She was told that the deportations are still happening, she can't go home, but she said that her parents have very good friends in Piotrków who are hiding their valuables. They'll take her in. And he said, okay. So they left, and I was still languishing there for what seemed like a lifetime. But eventually time came to go home. Arrangements were made to meet in a flour mill, which before the war was belonged to my father with partners. Now he was lucky to have a job there. And when we went in, there was my father waiting for me, but also my uncle, Joseph Klein, Ija's father. My uncle looked at us and he went white with shock. He said, "Where's my daughter?" And the man said, I brought her back. I took her to your friends. He mentioned the name. That's where she is. And my uncle said, "But she's not there. Where is she? What have you done with my child?" And that is the end of the story. Nobody knows to this day what happened to Ida. And not knowing it's just the worst thing, because your mind runs wild, your imagination runs wild. And there's so much to be said about it, but I really don't have time in 15 minutes. So my uncle was killed soon after that. My aunt survived the war, and her first priority was to go back to Piotrków, Częstochowa, to see what happened to Ija. Well, these people had fled. They were nowhere to be seen. And she learned from these good friends that the men came with Ija. They collected a suitcase full of valuables, and he left with Ija and the suitcase. And my aunt said to me, "How could anybody kill a child? We assume he killed her. We don't know what he did with her." But she said, "I would have given him everything I possess if only he had saved her." And on another occasion, we very rarely talked about each other because it was too painful. But on another occasion, she said to me, I hesitate to repeat it, it's just so tragic. She said, my Ija had to walk into the gas chamber by herself. There was nobody to hold her hand. And that's the pain she lived with for the rest of her life. There's a lot more to it, but I'll stop here and just go on to the ghetto. We got back into the ghetto and found my family intact because my brother had a work permit. My father, mother, and Lucia were living with Christian families, each one was a different family. But ghetto then, out of 28,000, had now 2,400 people left, and all these people had they had jobs. But the people who are coming in, and also we were a complete family. I mean, there were very few families. They're just the odd person from a family. But the people coming in were effectively illegal. That's what they were called, the illegals. They were filtering back slowly. And the Germans sort of looked the other way. They in fact, they almost were invited to come back. They unofficially said, oh, well, you can come back, nothing happened. But they had their agenda. When they thought everybody was back, they started rounding them up. On one occasion, they rounded up my mother and sister with a lot of other people. They stormed into that room and they took them to the synagogue, which before the war it was a grand synagogue. It was a beautiful building. Now it was very dilapidated. They used it for stables. And they were held there without any food or water or sanitary provisions. They were adding more people every day as they were going around looking for them. And on the 20th of December, 1942, they were walked out in groups of 50 to the local forest called Rakov. And they were walked out at dawn. We call it, they were walking to their own funeral. The first group found their mass graves ready. And they were killed in the most horrific way, which I never repeat, but it's all very well documented. We know exactly what happened because witnesses came to tell us. But it's very well documented in many books. And these forest killings were taking place all over Europe, actually. The largest of them was in Babi Yar, which was in Kiev. After that, there were 3 of us left, but they were still rounding people up, sometimes even people with jobs, and they rounded up an aunt of mine. It was the Helfgott part of the family. And she was taken away screaming, who look after my child? And by then, I was the only female Helfgott member of the family left, and it was down to me to look after her. I was 12, and Anne was 5. And I had the responsibility of her. And then the ghetto was dissolved and were transferred to a labor camp. But during that, there still were some, before it was dissolved, there were still some illegals left. There were only women and children, very, not many, but they got us all out. I was among them. They got us all out of the ghetto. We were in a column waiting to be taken away. There were lorries coming in and taking us away. I was towards the end of the column and I spotted a German officer who was watching. I could see that he was in charge, although he didn't have anything to do really. And I don't know what gave me the idea, but I walked up to him and I said that I've been separated from my father and brother. Could I go back to them? And he looked surprised, but flabbergasted. I still remember his face. And he called over a policeman and said, take her back inside the ghetto. On the way, I said, just a minute, I've got to get my cousin. And he said, you can't because she hasn't had permission. And this is something I wanted to think about because the Holocaust was full of such dilemmas like this and different, but they were shocking. And I was faced with having to decide, what do I do? But I kept on arguing with him and asking him and begging him. And in the end, he let me go. He said, quickly, take her and go back in the ghetto. So that was a real bit of luck because I know what happened to the children of that deportation, because there is a memorial for them in the same forest where my mother and sister were killed. So after that, were transferred to this to a factory. It's a labor camp where they manufactured plywood. I won't go into any details of that. From there, we were deported. We were walked to the station. We didn't know where we were going, but men separated from women. And the men were sent, can tell you now, they were sent to Buchenwald. And I was the women, we were sent to Ravensbrück. We found ourselves in Ravensbrück. And I just wanted to describe the arrival at Ravensbrück by itself and nothing else. Because when we arrived, the first thing they did, well, they took everything away from us. We had to queue up and give our details because, you know, they were meticulous at record keeping. Then we had to undress, our clothing was taken away, our heads were shaved, we went through cold communal showers. And when we got out at the other end, we were given the striped jacket and skirt. And when we looked at one another, we could not recognize each other. It is very difficult to describe what it does to you to have your identity taken away from you, to be stripped of your personality, of everything, because you just got nothing but, well, I won't go into the details of what we are and how we look and we care about it. Suddenly we're all the same. And it had a terrible effect on us. We started losing hope, and without hope, there's no survival. My aunt died with a very short time of arrival. My aunt Franja Klein. My friend Pema Blachman died soon after that. And I want to just point out that whenever I mention anyone that I personally knew, I always mention them by name, because these people were thinking of 6 million people. Well, first of all, I can't imagine 6 million people. I don't know who can. And they were individuals, they had names, they were people. But when it becomes a mass and we just talk about 6 million, it's very difficult to comprehend. And that's why I just wanted to mention, whenever I know a name, I refer to it. Now, I won't talk about the camp. I'll just quickly tell you that after we weren't there very long, when we were again deported, and this time to Bergen-Belsen. Now, I don't know whether I need to describe to you what Bergen-Belsen was like, because I think you must have seen the images at some point. But when we arrived there, they had no room for us. The place was very overcrowded because of all the prisoners being sent from the east to the west, and they put us up in a tent overnight. But next day we did go in, and well, I just very quickly describe what I still remember, what's ingrained on my mind. And the first thing that hit you was the smog and the smell. And there were people there, but they were really skeletons. And they were shuffling along aimlessly like zombies. And they just shuffle along, collapse and die. It was a horrific scene. There were dead bodies everywhere. There were piles of bodies and piles of naked, twisted, decaying corpses, and terrible overcrowding. But before, on our way to the barracks, I heard that there's a children's home somewhere there. And I quickly set out to find it. It was them. And we were interviewed by two women called Dr. Bimko and Sister Luba. If you read about Belsen, you will come across their names. And they interviewed us, and then they turned to me and said, well, we are also very overcrowded, but in any case, you are too old, they said to me. I was by then 14. But they would take my cousin. She was 7. But there was no way Anna was going to stay without me. She was so terrified of losing me. She wasn't going to give me up willingly. So eventually they took us both in. And that was a real bit of luck, because I have absolutely no doubt we wouldn't have survived in the main camp. And then even in these slightly, minutely better conditions, I still succumbed to typhus. I remember lying on my upper bunk by the window, and I must have come back into consciousness because I saw people running. I didn't know where or why they were running, but all I could think of was, how have they got the strength to run? Because typhus is a really debilitating condition. You just can't even move a muscle. So that was the 15th of April 1945 when we were liberated by the British. And the only other thing I want to tell you is that they were absolutely wonderful, these liberators. And that was my story. I don't know how long I took, because I only wanted to give you an introduction and really come to another point. But I'll do this point very quickly, because I just want to tell you that after, you know, there are usually questions afterwards, and one of the questions people ask quite often is, how did you keep your hope? How did you manage to keep hope? And I always think, well, I feel like saying, well, you've just heard my story. You know, you decide. You know, you tell me. But I have come, because I don't know if I mentioned to you, but because I always say, without hope, there's no survival. But I have this intuition that this is how it is. But I'm not aware that I had hope. I didn't strive to have hope. And you know, you can't just do that. You either have it or not. So I came across a book by Orlando Figes. And the name of it is Just Send Me Love. Just Send Me Word. It is a love story, but it's Just Send Me Word. And this is a story of love and survival in the Gulag. It is by Lev Mishenko and Svetlana Ivanova. And it goes on to say, this is just from a review, let us hope while we still have strength to hope. I have understood that the most terrible thing in life is complete hopelessness. to cross out all the maybes and give up the fight when you still have strength for it is the most terrible form of suicide. And, you know, I really took these words to heart because I felt they affect me. They sort of belong to me too, because somehow I did have hope, but I don't know how I had hope, and I couldn't really answer. I wasn't aware that I had hope, but I gave you one more just tiny example where I've deduced from that I did have hope, because when we were liberated, the forces had a terrible job on their hands. They had no facilities for all these people that were so ill, they couldn't move. And they didn't have, they didn't have anything. I won't tell you their sides. But I was still on my bunk for 2 days. I know that they came for me after 2 days. So 2 soldiers turned up with a stretcher, and they're going to pick me up to put me on the stretcher. And I said, no, that's all right. I will walk. Well, I got up and I couldn't even stand up. I promptly collapsed. But it just shows you that if I, in my condition, could think that I could actually walk, I must be one of those people that has hope and faith, and presumably that's what got me through it. So I stop here and thank you very much for listening.
Oh, every time I hear your story, it is amazing how you got through it. And I know that your aunt died last year in Paris, but you still have a cousin there. So you still have your brother. And so it's lovely to know that some of you did come through. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're not going to have questions and answers. We're going to do, what I'm going to do is invite you back another time. You're not a stranger to Northwood, you've been before. But thank you, Mala. I'm now going to move on for the moment. And I am going to talk about myself, about the Holocaust Center. This is how I came to meet all these wonderful people who have given me inspiration and helped me, especially through the last year. Unfortunately, I've been in isolation for a year, but I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain, because I hear these stories and I hear the courage of people like yourself and how you work tirelessly, Laura, and how we still have survivors, which is a miracle in itself. I think there are about 500-600 survivors left now. But the Holocaust Center has always been a haven for many years now, where people can go who survived these tragedies. They're on their own now and maybe find things a little bit difficult. Having lived on my own for 36 years, I lost my husband, I know what it's like. But there they have the center that will help them fill out a form, help them speak to the bank, make sure they're okay when they're not well, that they've got support. And I'd like to welcome here today, she's not going to speak, but Anne Sugarman, who is one of the people who has helped run the Holocaust Center. I had a wonderful task that was given to me. I knew I wanted to work with survivors. I went to the Holocaust Center and they asked me my background, and they turned around and leaned over their chairs and said, have we got a job for you? And they did. It has brought such spirit and warmth to my life that it's amazing. I organized an outreach program for survivors, and I've got wonderful volunteers who give their homes. Some of them are here today. and they give their home, they make a tea, and once a month we go to a different house. I'm responsible for 3 areas, and there's several others. And to hear the stories that go on and hear them laughing, we've become a family. So this has made this year very difficult for me. And I know how difficult it's been for them that we can't see each other. But we do have virtual teas, and for those that aren't challenged by the technical difficulties, we get them there. And these wonderful volunteers have now carried on making the teas and delivering them before we have the virtual tea party. I wanted to share this with you because amidst all the tragedies that we're hearing about, it gives me spirit to know that there are still people who care enough, and the wonderful volunteers that I work with. And the wonderful people that I've met, I could tell you stories, I could write a volume of books about the funny stories as well, and the little anecdotes. This has certainly kept me going. I'm now going to ask Mala to light one of the special Holocaust Memorial candles. And as soon as she has done that, I'm going to ask you to bear with me, because unfortunately, this year we've lost 30 members of our Holocaust survivors, and I'd like to read each and every name out. So I hope you'll bear with me while I do that. Mala?
Yeah, this is the official candle of the Holocaust Memorial Day that I received.
And if anybody's got a candle that they want to light at the same time, I hope I don't set fire to my study. Oh, can't do that. Thank you, Mala.
Can you see the, oh, yes, you can see it well, yeah.
I'm now going to read out the names of the people, and I'm actually going to stand, so you might not see me once I stand, not that I'm very tall, but I'm going to call out the names of the following people who we have lost in the last year. If you'd like to join me in standing, you can. If you don't have to. We miss you, and to live in the hearts of those you leave behind is not to die. And that's why I think it's very important we mention their names today. Jack Beja, Tony Finlay, Renata Kirsten, Edith Muller, Mari Obuchowski, Sophie Roth, Rena Treitel, Henry Wormuth, Bertha O'Hayon, Erna Scott, Heidi Frankel, Johnny Gutman, Karen Lawson, Gerda Deutschmann, Maja Fassler, Erika Bachmann, Herman Hirschberger, Katinka Easton, Leon Ettinger, Jack, known as Yakov, Hecht, Ingeborg Katz, Jenny Marmorstein, Moisha Nutman, Hedwig Orlan Hudesh, Jeanette Schipper, Annalise Winter, Sylvia Pearl, and Hortense Gordon. Can I ask you, Rabbi, now to read the memorial prayer, please?
אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, דיין אלמנות ויתומים, חמצה מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה, מעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הקיא המזהירים, את נשמות 6 מיליון יהודים שנרצחו לידי הנאצים יימח שמם, שמות רבבות אלפי ישראל, אנשים מטף שנהרגו ושנשחטו ושנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנקברו חיים על קידוש השם. כולם קדושים וטהורים והם גאוני צדיקים, אז לבד יראה התורה בעל הרחמים, יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ביצור ביצור החיים את נשמותיהם, בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, יזכו עקדתם ותעמוד לנו לכל ישראל צדקתם. ארץ אל תכסי דמם, אני מקום לזעקתם. בזכותם ישובו נדחי ישראל לאחוזתם, והקדושים לזיכרון תמיד נגד אדוני יעמדו לגורלם. יבואו שלום וינוחו על משכבותם, ויקומו לקץ הימים לחיותם, ונאמר אמן.
Thank you, Rabbi. Before we go on to Kabbalat Shabbat.
1 second, yes.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to say just a Kaddish before sitting down.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry.
Although we are on Zoom, so I'm going to say it in English for all those neshamas to go higher, high in heaven. Amen. Magnificent and sanctifying may his great name be in the world he created by his will. We establish his kingdom in your lifetime and in your days, and the lifetime of all the house of Israel swiftly and soon. May his great name be blessed forever at all times. Blessed and praised, glorified and exalted, raised and honored, uplifted and lauded be the name of the Holy One, blessed be he, beyond any blessing, song, praise, and consolation uttered in the world. May there be great peace from heaven and life for us and all of Israel. And we will end with the Hebrew prayer. Ohoseh shalom b'momah, Yaseh shalom aleinu, V'yavol Yisrael, I'm now going to add a special, first of all, thank you so much. Please, you can sit down. Thank you so much, Mala, for sharing such insights and wisdom within the story, within the fascinating story. And thank you, Ingrid, of course, for hosting this important memorial, which we usually do it in different areas and different timings, but this time we're doing a virtual, and I appreciate it to bring along both the Laura Marks and also Mala here with us to hear a little bit about the stories. But I would like to thank you for the courage and for everyone to coming and listening to each other and making and putting a mark and putting that light within the darkness. Mala, I really enjoyed what you said, the sentence. Maybe you say it a lot, but for me it was very powerful. You said, with all the hope, without hope, there's no survival. And that is what in Judaism we are bound to do, and to educate our children. Light a candle, light that hope to the next generation. Make sure they see the light and they don't see darkness. Make sure they spread the darkness away from us, as we heard from Laura, especially in these days where tensions are high. We hope for a good future. Just on one note, before we're going to say a Kelma L'Rachamim, I want to say for all the community that have Yortzeit this week, I want to express my gratitude, of course, to our chairman Alan Moss, and to the team, and Ingrid, of course, and Brian Gaminda, and old Derek. And if I say one, I have to say everyone, Naviva, but we are one. We're together. We're doing it as a fantastic team, and I think this shows how to operate love and kindness and sharing with each other and gathering together. One idea about this parsha, we talk about the split of the sea. There's two main stories about this parsha portion. The first one is talking about the split of the sea. The second is about the manna, receiving it from God. But I want to just focus a little bit about, or just 1 minute about about the song, the connection between song and hope. We're talking about slaves. We're talking about Jewish people that went 200 years of suffering day and night, as we Jews unfortunately know. And apparently when they came out, they saw the miracles. They had the power within them and the energy within them to sing a song. And it tells you the identity of that person, that no matter what they try to do to us, no matter how much they try to oppress us, we have a song. We can be liberated, and we can continue to grow and to move on. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this Parashat Beshalach, that we all together, V'yanu kolam yachdav, everyone, as Hashem Moshe led with Miriam, with the ladies, the Tofum, with the trumpets, and everyone together praised Hashem and said thank you to Hashem. So on this opportunity, I want to say thank you for what we do have. Thank you that we have great survivors, great people like you, and all those that are still with us. Hashem should give them the energy and the power and the health, especially in this pandemic. And Bezrat Hashem, may we all continue to support one another. And I wish you all a beautiful and good Shabbos.
Before we go on, Rabbi, can I just say
yes,
thank you to you again for allowing us to join you on the Kabbalat Shabbat. You had to come in early. You never say no to anything.
Well, if you tell me that I'll have 75 people, I'll do it every week. It's
more than 75. We've got about 145 because a lot of people are double. I can't promise it every week, but we will try. But I wanted to especially thank you and the council and our chair, Alan Moss, for letting us have this memorial tribute here at Northwood, because it is very much Shalman has been part of running the usual Holocaust Memorial Week, where we have local children come through the doors of our synagogue to learn about the Holocaust from wonderful people like Mala. So thank you. And thank you everybody again, especially the ladies. You're not in your kitchens on Erev Shabbat, so I really appreciate all of you coming here. And it's very nice, and I'm very proud that my two daughters are with us here, the one from Israel as well.
Welcome. Fantastic.
I hand over to you now. Kabbalat Shabbat.
Okay.
Ingrid, can I just butt in? Sorry, just to say something.
Yes, please do.
Okay. Just to say that my mother used to go to Ingrid's tea parties. She wouldn't miss them. She loved them, and they were a very big part of her life. So thank you very much indeed, Ingrid.
Thank you. I still miss her. Thank you.
Okay. 1 minute. Let me just get organized. Sorry. If I miss anyone, please let me know. Okay, no, it's a problem. Sorry, excuse me. אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, האמצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, מעלות קדושים וטהורים כזועקי המזהירים, את נשמות חנה בת משה, the mother of Louis Epstein, דוד בן מרדכי צבי, husband of Audrey Woman, Moshe ben Baruch, father of Geraldine Cohen, Natan ben Yaakov, the father of Sheila Gale, Mordechai ben Dov, the father of David Levy, David ben Tzvi Halevi, the father of Jeremy Stern, Yaakov ben Yitzchak Halevi, the father of Elaine Davis, Yaakov ben Chaim, the father of Paul Feynman, Shoshana Miriam bat Avraham Halevi, the mother of Irene Goldstein, Hannah ben Shimon, the mother of Barry Gower, Yaakov Yitzchak Halevi, the father of Amina Hudson, Shmuel ben Ephraim, the father of Michelle Massing. Shalchu leolamam, הנבלה החמים, זכה להם לטובה כל זכויותיהם וצדקותיהם בארצות החיים, הובטח להם שערי צדק והוראה, שערי חמלה וחנינה, בסתר כנפיך תסתיר לעולמים, וצרור בצרוח חיים את נשמותיהם, אדוני נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר אמן. Wish all those that have a yahrzeit this week a long life, arichut yamim. And we're now going to continue straight to the mincha service and a little bit of a taste of Kabbalat Shabbat, a sing-along. So please stay with us, enjoy the Kabbalat Shabbat, the happiness within our souls. So what we'll do is, we don't have a lot of time. I will daven mincha, which usually takes around 5 minutes, quiet, silent prayer. But then after that, we will highlight some of the main Kabbalat Shabbat songs, and then we will try to finish around maybe 15 minutes max all the Kabbalat Shabbat. We'll do a shorter version today. Ashrei yoshvei betecha od yalu chasela Hashem shekachal. Tehillah leDavid דור לדור ישבח מעשיך וגבורתך יגידו עדה כבוד הודיך בדיוק. זוז נועתך יאמר ודולת חסבנה. זכר אהבתוך יביאו וצדקתך. טוב אדוני על הכל ורח עמה ועל כל מעשה בדוחם. מלכותך מלכות כל העם ישל הרוח ודבר סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים וזוקב לכל אלה כפופים עיני כל החסד והידיים. פותח את ידיך ומשביע לכל חרצון צדיק ענה בכבודך בחצי בכל מעשיו וקרוב על מערכו קרוב בכל השם. תהילה אתה אדוני ידבר פיו ויעקב עשה שלום. הללויה. ככתוב בתורה ודעת משהו בתורה. אחת אחת כזה. נאמר, היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We're going to start with the entry of Shabbat, the prayer we say before Kabbalat Shabbat, we did Nefesh, talking about our love to Hashem. Ki Nefesh Avarachama Meshochadecha El Retzonecha. You can unmute yourself.
I'm finding it hard to.
Oh, there.
שומר נפשות חסידיו, מיד רשעים יצילם. זרעו על הצדיק, ולשלב שמחה. שמחות צדיקים באדוני, וירדו לזכר קודשו, מזמור שמונה שיר חדש. לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק ועמים, באמת שרים אדוני מלך. עמוד ענן ידבר עליהם, יאמרו את אותם וחוג נתן עמו, אדוני אלוהים יתרחם איתו, אין עושה איתה להם, ונוקים אלילותיו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו, וישבו להר קודשו, כי קדוש Adonai Eloheinu. Please stand up and join us with Mizmor LeDavid. Mizmor LeDavid. Avol Adonai ben Elim. Avol Adonai kavod va'oz. Avol Adonai kevod shemo ishtachavol Adonai behadarat kodesh. Avol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod Erev Adonai Almayim. Kol Adonai Ba'koa, Kol Adonai Aveyadav, Kol Adonai Shover Achazim Vayishaber Adonai Yadav Zeyaleh. Vayakdem kemo Eket Levanon, Ve'eseyon kemo Adonai רוצה לעבודש, כל אדוני יחיד אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יחולל לילוד, ויחסום יערות וכולו Adonai Lamavol Yasha, Yeshiv Adonai Adonai Ozdamo Yitem, Adonai Yevarech. Lecha Davodi Lekat Kahala, Bnei Shaba Bnei Kabela, Lecha Davodi Bnei Shaba Bnei Kabela, Shama
Amor v'zavat v'tikorech ad yishmi anu el amecha v'nayecha v'nei Shabbat kablaha Nikrat Shabbat v'necha ki v'kor Abraham Shabbatila Ikradka B'nei Shabbat Kabla Ikdas Yircholu Chakum
Thank you so much for joining the NUS Kabbalat Shabbat performance by vocals. I think we had here our Shamash, of course, and Robin Cantor. We heard a little bit, and a few others. Thank you so much for joining.
Can we say farewell to Yosef, Rabbi?
Yeah. Farewell to Yosef. 1 second. Let me put him on the...
Shabbos is coming in now.
Shabbos is coming in 1
No,
minute.
we got 5 minutes.
Have we? Okay.
41.
Thank you, Brian. I think we...
Yosef, how are you doing? Please tell us in shortly what is happening. What's going on? What do you mean you're leaving? You're never leaving us. You're with us all the time. What's everything is? Tell us, please.
It's the biggie.
Yeah, actually, Bedina asked me to move into Jewish community areas, so they suggest to be in Golders Green or Hendon.
You're moving to Golders
so
Green.
I rented a place in Hendon.
You're moving to
Yeah,
Golders
so
Green.
I will be in Od Yosef Chai synagogue. I hope so. Yeah, and I will have personal teaching. So every week, and I have to join the synagogue every day, I hope. So we'll see you one day when it will be reopened. Yeah, I will never forget you. Thank you for your love and care. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, everyone.
We won't forget you.
It's hard for me. It's a little bit hard to say goodbyes. I don't. I'm gonna see you every day, so it's not gonna be a goodbye.
Of course, you are my Rabbi.
But no, really, I just wanted to say again to people that a little bit of a background. Yosef is in the process of converting. He's done huge steps within our community. He's learned it for a few years already, in Shurim and on virtual too. But now, as you know, that within conversion, it's a whole big discussion. But now, as a process of the conversion, they have to live in a Jewish area which is functioning, which is shops and everything. And unfortunately, in Northwood, not yet. Soon, we're just almost there. But we're going to be there soon. But in the meantime, Golders Green beats us. What can we do? So he's going to live in Golders Green, and hopefully we'll see his beard maybe longer. No, I'm kidding. The outside doesn't matter. It's all about the heart. You're going to succeed. B'ezrat Hashem, we're looking forward at the end of the gate, the other side. Don't worry. Everything's going to be fantastic. We will stay in touch, and we're going to see you, of course, on the virtual. So you're going to continue. We're going to see you soon. A good Shabbos to everyone. And
Good luck, Yosef. Hope it works well for you. Good luck.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian.
Love you, sir.
Good luck,
Great
Yusuf.
man, Brian.
Shalom.
Good luck, Yusuf.
Thank you.
Shabbat
Thank you very much.
shalom.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you so
Been a
much.
pleasure
everyone.
meeting you.
Good luck, Yusuf.
Yosef.
Good luck, Yusuf.
It's been inspiring knowing you.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Shabbos.
Same time next week.
Same
Or
time next
25
week.
4 next week.
Yeah, you like earlier?
4:42 next week.
Okay, whatever you say, Shamash.
This week.
Zat Hashem.
This Friday.
Shabbat shalom.
Barbara, it's
Shalom.
good to see you. Grossmans, Wilford, Stalbot, Packman, Weinberg, Friedman, Clifford, Chesterpole, Levy, Cohen, Brooks. Wow, so many. Amazing. Good Shabbos to everyone.
Shabbos.
Mary, good Shabbos. Patricia,
Stay
good
healthy.
Shabbos. Philip,
Good Shabbos.
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 Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
All the best.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Isn't it wonderful just to say good Shabbos before Shabbos? It changes the whole Shabbos. You feel lovely. You feel that inspiring. You feel that you meet, and just to meet another person today is a big commodity.
It's true.
Stuart, good Shabbos. Sue, good Shabbos.
Shabbos to you, Rabbi, and well done, Ingrid.
Well done, Michael Kaplan.
Well done, Eric. Good job.
Joe,
Well done. Good work, Eric.
Marsha, good Shabbos. Caroline, good Shabbos.